Welcome back to The Explainer. If you've been watching the cryptocurrency market lately, you know we are entering a truly pivotal phase. I mean, May 2026 is shaping up to be an absolute make-or-break month for crypto capital allocation. We're talking massive shifts, huge technical upgrades, and looming legislative deadlines all colliding at the exact same time. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, or if you're just looking to rebalance your portfolio, the data we're about to unpack today is absolutely essential.
So, it all boils down to one massive question, right? Where on earth should you actually allocate your capital this May? We aren't just going to sit here and guess by staring at charts. We're going to use this explainer as a vital tool to weigh the real fundamental and technical catalyst driving the market right now. Because before you deploy a single dollar, you really need to understand the distinct narratives playing out across the top assets.
All right, here's the quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the big picture of allocating capital this May, dive into Ethereum's whale activity and upgrades, check out Solana's insane volume, unpack the legislative wildcard that is XRP, and then wrap up by comparing your actual allocation options side by side.
Okay, let's jump right into part one, allocating capital in May and the big three altcoins.
Look, right now, institutional money is driving the bus. Retail is hanging around, sure, but the heavy hitters are the ones drawing the map for the remainder of 2026. And these institutions are looking very closely at three specific assets to define that trajectory. You can basically break them down into these categories. Ethereum is setting up to be the conviction play. Solana is absolutely the momentum play. And XRP, well, that is our legislative wildcard. Each of these has a totally unique set of technical hurdles and fundamental catalysts that are going to dictate their performance over the next few weeks.
Moving on to Section 2, let's open the dossier on Ethereum, whales, upgrades, and why it's the conviction play.
So, ETH is sitting around $2,328 right now. Price momentum feels kind of neutral, honestly. It's had a bit of a slow start to the year, showing signs of consolidation. But beneath that quiet surface, $322 million. On-chain data is showing us that large holders, the whales, just scooped up over 140,000 ETH in a staggering 96-hour window. I mean, that is one incredibly expensive shopping spree. While retail is bored, institutions are aggressively positioning themselves before the market catches up. That is what true unshakable conviction actually looks like.
And why are they buying? Well, they're anticipating the Glamsterdam hard fork, which is confirmed to be on track for the first half of 2026. This upgrade is a beast. We're talking about tripling Layer 1 execution capacity, plus a massive gas limit jump from 60 million up to 200 million. Basically, way more transactions can fit into a single block. Now throw in Ethereum's seasonal tailwinds. Historically, May is its absolute best month, averaging a 34.7% return, and you can see why analysts are heavily eyeing that $2370 resistance level as the first major target.
All right, Section 3. Let's talk about Solana. Volume, momentum, and why it's the clear momentum play right now.
Currently, Solana is boxed into this super tight $84 to $86 range, but do not let that sideways price action fool you. Under the hood, things are going ballistic. 10.1 billion. That is how many transactions processed on the network in just the first quarter of 2026 alone. The network is operating at a mind-bending pace. And alongside all this volume, stablecoin supply on Solana has surged 167% year over year. Capital is flowing in heavily, and users are transacting at a record clip.
But here's the real kicker. It's not just retail volume. The fundamental signals for Solana are screaming bullish right now. First off, you've got the planned Alpenglow consensus upgrade coming up, aiming for faster finality, essentially instant permanent transaction settlement. But the absolute biggest catalyst, the SE and CFTC officially confirming Solana's status as a commodity. The market reacted incredibly positively to this, because it totally paves the way for broader institutional adoption and, yep, serious ETF discussions later this year.
Which brings us to Section 4, XRP. This is our legislative wildcard, and frankly, a bit of a legislative gamble.
Okay, so XRP is holding steady at 139 right now. But honestly, the narrative has shifted entirely away from the charts and straight into Washington, D.C. Now, before we get into the politics, we have to acknowledge the financial tailwinds. Spot XRP ETFs just pulled in $83.9 million in net inflows this past April. That is their strongest monthly performance since late 2025. There's clear institutional appetite brewing here. This kind of bullish ETF momentum could easily push the asset toward a 1.65 to 1.80 range. But, and this is a massive but, a breakout like that is highly contingent on one huge external factor. Because right now, we are watching a literal legislative countdown. All eyes are on the U.S. Senate and the Clarity Act, which is landmark legislation aiming to finally codify XRP as a digital commodity. But there is an intense pressure cooker situation happening. There's a strict Senate committee deadline for markup, which is where lawmakers actually debate and finalize the bill, on May 21, 2026. Analysts are warning that if the Clarity Act isn't marked up by that exact date, it could be shelved entirely until 2030. It is an absolute binary event for the asset.
And making this gamble even trickier are the mixed signals coming out of Ripple itself. On the bullish side, Ripple has secured massive institutional partnerships with heavyweights like Deutsche Bank and Societe Generale for settlements. That's a huge win. But on the flip side, there is a serious debate among holders about Ripple's pivot toward RLUSD, their new stablecoin. The partnerships are obviously fantastic for the company, but the market is sitting there anxiously waiting to see if institutional use of RLUSD actually translates into direct demand for the native XRP token. It's a very fair question.
All right, let's bring it all together in Section 5, comparing your allocation options. Time for the final synthesis.
So, when you line up this data and hold it up against your own personal risk appetite, the contrast is pretty wild. With Ethereum and Solana, you're looking at a generally bullish 2026 outlook backed by hard technical certainty and undeniable network activity. Ethereum has the upcoming Glamsterdam upgrade driving whale accumulation toward that $2,500 resistance. Solana has jaw-dropping network volume and newly minted commodity status eyeing $105. But then you have XRP. The outlook is totally mixed, with a $1.50 resistance relying 100% on the Clarity Act actually surviving that May 21st deadline.
So what does this all mean for you? It leaves us with the ultimate question for your portfolio. Based on the data we've broken down in this explainer today, where do you put your money? Do you allocate toward the technical and network certainty of Ethereum and Solana? Or do you take a swing and bet on the high-stakes legislative gamble of XRP? The catalysts are clear, the deadlines are set, and the data is right there on the table. The decision of where your capital truly belongs this May, well, that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.